Welcome back to Inside Bristol. I'm Jack Dunham, sitting in for Sheridan Nichols for a couple of days. We're here with Gina Fry, and she's from the Children's Advocacy Center. And Gina, welcome to Inside Bristol.
Thank you for having me.
What would you like to tell me about the Children's Advocacy Center?
Well, there's just so much to tell about the Children's Advocacy Center, but because unfortunately we're very busy at this time of year when kids are back in school and when allegations of abuse are being reported. So it's kind of a busy time for us because we typically find that when school's in session, that's when we start getting a lot of reports, because children feel more comfortable talking to an adult they know, and teachers are the adults that children are around the most, teachers and guidance counselors. And that kind of brings us to a thing that we're focusing on right now at the Children's Advocacy Center. We do a lot of different things to help and support the families and the children that have been sexually abused. But what we're doing is our prevention program. We're focusing on trying to get adults educated on the protection of children. We have a program that we've been doing for several years, and it is Stewards of Children. And then we receive grant funds on this, and we're able to do this at no cost to the organizations and community that we serve. Stewards of Children it's a wonderful program. There are stories from adult survivors from abuse. There's stories and conversation about how agencies need to put policies in place and plans in place to protect children, and to also make our environment where children go to school, go to churches, recreation, sports, where they're in situations where they're safe. And that's what Stewards of Children teaches. And it teaches adults and organizations about how to put things in place that will protect children. We want policies in place, background checks for anyone that works with children. We go to churches. We serve the faith-based community in presenting this program with daycares and just with the programs that churches conduct. We work with the health department and all of those individuals that work with children. Law enforcement. We're excited that we're going to be able to do in February, present Stewards of Children to the Sullivan County law enforcement. So that's going to be that's going to be a great thing, because they are the first responders when an allegation of abuse is made. So we want them to know how to report it, what to do, the steps to do when a child reports, that someone has touched them, and we also do situations of severely physical abuse. So, training these individuals that work with children is just such an important part of what we want to do, because if more individuals know about protecting children and know the signs and know what they need to do, and there's conversations going on about this, then more children will be protected. You know what? That means less children will suffer the trauma of being sexually abused.
Now, you said something very interesting. You said that this time of year it seems to pick up, the complaints. That doesn't mean that there's no abuse during the summer. That just means that it's reported more this time of year.
No, it's reported. We tend to find that when children get back in school or in daycares, then a lot of times, because the teachers are aware of what's going on in the kids' lives. And, they may see and notice something, and a child may talk to them. So, but not to say that abuse doesn't go on any other time. It goes on a lot, more than it should ever. And I think we often think that we're living in a community where child abuse just doesn't happen. But we can average as many as 1,100 allegations of abuse in Sullivan County alone, and that's a lot. And there's a lot and those are just reported cases. The percentages are that a lot of the cases of abuse are never reported.
And that goes over every economic line. And
It does. It knows no boundaries. And but by educating adults and having conversations, I mean, because think about how many children do you have contact with in your life? I mean, you may have children of your own, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, neighbors. So as an adult, we feel it's a responsibility to protect children because children can't protect themselves. And also, a lot of people don't realize, but Tennessee is a mandated reporting state. So if you suspect that a child is being abused or physically harmed, it's your duty to report it. You don't have to prove it. You don't even have to give your name. You just have to feel that maybe something's not quite right, and you report it. Because, if we don't protect our children, and like I said, they can't protect themselves, and if we can do that, we feel very strongly that our community will be a safer place for our children to grow.
You were saying something about how when a child is, if a situation is being investigated and the child is being questioned, he may be questioned over and over and over again and having to tell the story over and over again.
That was before the Children's Advocacy Center was in existence. That was prior to that. And now what we do is we work with law enforcement, we work with the DA's office, we work with juvenile courts, and we work together as a team. And the children are brought to the center and interviewed while law enforcement and DCS investigators watch the interview. But the child's in a room where it's child friendly. They're talking to somebody that has been highly trained to ask the right questions, but not to ask leading questions, because we don't want to do that either. But ask questions, to find out what happened. And so oftentimes, the child will tell us, what has happened. Because they feel safe and they feel at that point that they can tell, what's happened. We know that our prevention programs, and of course we do prevention programs for children as well with Yellow Dino, and we want to teach those children about protecting themselves as well. But we still, need our adults to know how to protect children. But we bring them to this. I've kind of jumped around, but we bring them to the center, and that's where they can talk. And then later we also try to help with the services, because the non-offending caregivers sometimes may find themselves displaced because the abuser may be the major breadwinner in the family. So we work with the families. We have a family advocate that works with the families. And then we also do therapy to try to help the child, because so often children that suffer the trauma of abuse feel like it's their fault. So we work in just trying to help them with self-esteem issues. So we try to just, I guess the easiest way to explain what the Children's Advocacy Center does is we just try to wrap that child and that family in all the services and all the care that we can, so that they can continue, they can receive help in moving forward and healing in their life.
And abuse can actually affect the child for its entire life.
A child may not have any symptoms now as a young child, 6, 7 years old, but it can come out later on. A lot of times, we've heard of post-traumatic stress. I mean, that happens with child abuse too. There may be a factor that may trigger that memory, and then that child will start having troubles. They may be a teenager, and we offer services up until the child's 18 years old. We do not charge for any of our services and any of the support we do for our families and children.
Is there anything else you want to tell me about this very important service?
Oh, I could go on a long time. But we just want the community to know what we do and be aware of, that we do have to protect our children, and every adult needs to be aware of the signs and symptoms and what they need to do if they're around a child that may be trying to talk to them, or maybe trying to tell them, something's happened and I don't feel comfortable with it. open conversations. We want people to have open conversations with their children so they can feel comfortable talking about if somebody does something to them.
Thank you very much for being on our show.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's it for Inside Bristol this episode, and join us next week, or the next 2 weeks. Sheridan will be back, and thanks for watching.